Hi, this video is going to show you how to find the y-intercept of a line when you only have the slope and a point that it goes through. I do have another video that's similar to this. I take you through a little less traditional method where there's basically a formula that you just plop things into and then you get your b value. So if you like the concrete kind of formulas and you're good at order of operations, and just go that route. You can also do this, which is pretty much your traditional method. Almost every algebra teacher teaches it this way. Alright, so let's get to the punch. Y equals mx plus b is what we're looking for. We're assuming that we're given a point and we're given the slope. So for an example, let's say that they say, hey, the line is going to go through 10, negative 1. That's a point that the line goes through, and let's say that they tell you that the slope is negative 1/2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this equation up here and we're going to plug in anything that we have a number for. So if we look at the point, let's label what it actually means. What the 10 is it's actually an x value, the negative 1 is actually a y value, and this is obviously already labeled as m. So if we bring this down here and say, alright, let's fill in what we know. Y, instead of writing the letter y, we're going to put negative 1, because that is the y value that they gave us. I'm copying the equal sign. Next is our m, and the m that we have is negative 1/2. And then, hold on a second, let me see if I can clean that up a little bit. So we have a negative 1/2 for a slope, and that's going to multiply with the x, and the x value we have labeled above is 10, and then plus b. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve for the b. We're going to get the b all by itself, and we're going to do that in stages. The first thing we're going to do is multiply these two things together, just to kind of clean it up a little bit. When I just disregard the fact that the half is negative, I'm just going to think of what is half of 10. Half of 10 is 5. And now I'm going to take that negative sign into account. I have a negative times a positive. That means my answer is going to be negative. Alright, so things already look a lot less intimidating. And again, you could just do negative 1/2 times 10 on a calculator. So now if we're trying to get the b by itself, that 5 is being subtracted technically. The opposite of subtracting the 5 is to add the 5. And we have to do that to each side of the line, of the equal sign rather. On this side we have a negative 1 plus 5, which will give us positive 4. And the only thing we have left now on the right hand side is b. So we just found that our b value is 4. So if we were going to write the equation of the line, that means that we have to put in a number here, and we have to put in a number here. So let's fill them in. The m, we were told at the beginning of the problem, was negative 1/2. And then our b is a positive 4, so we put plus 4. And there's your equation of the line if they ask for that. Alright, let's try another one. Let's see. Let's say that this time our slope is negative 2, and let's say that the point they give us is negative 1, negative 4. Again, what I tend to do immediately, as soon as I see an ordered pair, I'm going to label it x and y. And because even if you're stuck and you have no clue how to tackle a problem, if there's an ordered pair in it, label it. Sometimes it will trigger something and you remember, oh, maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do that. So at least it beats sitting there staring helplessly at a problem when, at least if you're labeling it, you're showing some kind of understanding, which is a good thing. Anyways, alright, so we're starting with the traditional y equals mx plus b, and we're going to plug in everything we know. Our y value that we just labeled is negative 4, equals the m value is negative 2, the x value that we have labeled above is negative 1, and now we want to get that b all by itself. When I multiply negative 2 times negative 1, that's going to be a positive 2. And again, use a calculator if you feel more comfortable with it. For me, I want you to get down the steps of how to do this. Don't want you hung up on, oh, what's a negative times a negative? So until you get that down pat, use a calculator if you're more comfortable with that. So to get the b by itself, we have a 2, and it's a positive 2, which kind of means that it's being added. So to undo that, to bring it to the other side, we're subtracting it. What we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. If I'm at negative 4 and I go backwards 2 more units, I'm going to be at negative 6. And that's what our b value is. That's our y-intercept. So now what we have is the final equation for this line would be y equals, our slope is negative 2 times x minus 6, since our b is a negative sign. I'll do one more. If you're feeling pretty good, I'm not going to show you anything different. I'm just going to do one more in case you're like, I want to see that one more time. And I'm going to do it with, a slope that is a fraction. Okay, I'm trying to get this out of the way. There we go. Let's say this time we have a slope of 1/3, and the point that they want us, or they tell us the line goes to, is that. Again, start off with this and plug things in. Label our point, x, y, and then plug in. Our y value we have labeled as -2. The slope is a positive 1/3. That's going to multiply with our x value. And same old, we're going to get the b by itself. Again, I'm going to ignore the negatives for a minute. 1/3 of 3 is just 1. And I do know that it's going to be negative because a negative times a positive gives me a negative. And again, just use a calculator. If you're not sure how to type 1/3 on a calculator, the fraction bar is a division sign, that's all. So you would type it in as 1 divided by 3. It's always a good trick to remember. Alright, back to our problem. To get b by itself, we need to get that -1 gone. The -1 is actually saying, hey, we're subtracting 1, so to do the opposite of that, we're going to add 1. What you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. -2 going forward 1 more will give us a -1, and that is our b value. So if they asked us our equation, y equals 1/3 x minus 1. Alright, I hope this helped, and again, I do have another video out there. It's almost the same thing. It just has more of a formula way to find the b. You're not solving. You don't have to switch sides with anything. You can just plug numbers in, grab a calculator, type it, and boom, you're done. So look for that if you are looking for something a little more concrete.